usually the topic of the journey of the soul and the evolution of the soul and the soul in general is a topic that I try to avoid as much as possible with many elegant and non-elegant ways. Sometimes I provide rather contradictory answers. So sometimes I avoid, sometimes I'm simply completely contradicting myself. And this has to do with my role, with my function as a spiritual teacher, who is meant to help people to attain Buddhahood, attain self-realization. In this, by the way, I'm not so different from teachers who were far greater, far more significant than me, like the Buddha, Ramana Maharshi, Jiddu Krishnamurti. They were all, and many others, they were all providing, either avoiding the topic or providing conflicting answers. And exactly for the same reason. This is because sometimes we tend to over-attach to the new identity, the identity of the soul. It's another subtle form of identification and becoming. And when we want to be completely free, our aim is to transcend all identification and move to realize our deepest nature as selfless, formless being. So this is why I find myself often hesitant. But I think that this weekend is the time for a comprehensive and responsible answer. It will take me 2 days to answer, and I'm sure that you are going to have plenty of questions that will be that not all of them I will be able to answer. Partly because of my own limitation of knowledge, partly because of limitation of time. But it is time to give the answer. So thank you, Anna, for creating this opportunity. On the other hand, it is very difficult to find a great teacher in the history of humankind, a great teacher of enlightenment who has completely rejected the concept of the soul or reincarnation. We find so many of them speak about that, refer to that as an obvious fact. We find it in ancient Greece, in Pythagoras, in Plato, in Socrates. We find it in India, in the Upanishads, the earlier scriptures, the Yoga Vasishta, and so many others. And we, of course, find it in Buddhism. We have countless references to reincarnation, the soul, the process of rebirth, and so on and so on, and how to prepare for your death, and how to ensure your next your your next rebirth in optimal conditions, and sometimes how you prevent rebirth at all. The Buddha, who was considered to be someone who rejected the soul, didn't really reject the soul at all. Actually, he was very interested, and mainly interested, in the idea of the soul, because his interest was, from the other side, was how to prevent rebirth, how not to be reborn. This was his entire doctrine. So he invested a great deal of teaching and to guide his monks and nuns in this direction. And he was very busy with the question, why do we take a human form in the first place? He himself, when he became enlightened, he announced that this was his last incarnation, which means that obviously what else can incarnate aside from a soul? And as this was his last incarnation, last human form, he also reported that he had remembered, he could recount countless of his incarnations upon awakening. When his monks died, he was able to predict where exactly they would reincarnate, and when, and why. So, in this sense, there is these teachings. They are, in a way, challenging for a spiritual teacher, but on the other hand, if you look really deeply into the matter of the soul, into the journey of the soul, into the evolution of the soul, you realize that it is completely tied in to the teachings of liberation and enlightenment.